So Ruin's out, the Security Breach DLC. So I watched it. Well, I watched most of it. I tried to watch Astrospith's livestream on YouTube, but I joined in like the middle of it, and I was very lost. So I watched Super Horror Bros videos on them, and I'm a lot more lost. I couldn't even finish watching it. I got so bored of watching at least 2 hours of security nodes, so I just searched up the endings and watched all of those. And I will get to the endings later, that's like the whole point of this. So this is my genuine review of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach and the Ruin DLC. I was honestly pretty excited before it came out. I thought this would be the saving grace for Security Breach. And in the time it took for the DLC to come out, I developed a love for Security Breach and all of the horrible and wrong reasons. But I am glad to say that Ruin has reinstated my hatred for Security Breach and my FNaF purist mindset. I will get this out of the way. I am proud of the quality and of the map and the lack of glitches. It's a huge step up from the base game's buggy mess. But that shouldn't be a pro. That should just come with the game. If my only compliment for the game is that it isn't buggy, that's not good at all. With that said and done, the story. I've memorized the FNaF lore like it was the Pledge of Allegiance, and Ruin has, ruined it. The original story of FNaF, while now overdone as its effects are everlasting on the horror game world, is beautifully complex in the simplest way. An unstable man loses 2 of his children and goes insane killing children, thinking that will bring his kids back and make him immortal. And Pizza Simulator had the most beautiful, poetic ending to the series. But Scott had to milk the tit of money and just get a little bit more before he retired for good because people found out he was a Trump supporter. Security Breach without the DLC is a disgrace to the Five Nights at Freddy's name, and shouldn't have the FNaF brand on it at all. The story continues after Help Wanted, another game that should have been shelved forever, but that isn't the topic of this video. And William is back, again, because Steelwool can't think of a new villain even though Vanessa stared them right in the face. Everyone knows the Security Breach story, so I'll just talk about the ending. William is back and revived because his rotten, crispy corpse survived the fire in Pizza Simulator, as well as being uploaded into a VR headset. Gregory burns him again, because creativity is dead and it's all about reruns. And it ends with the Pizzaplex crumbling into the sinkhole that has the Pizza Simulator building in it. I forgot to mention that. So Gregory and Freddy save Vanessa from her alter ego Vanny, and they escape and live happily ever after, which we see in that little comic after the credits. So, all in all, a good ending for the characters, but a mediocre ending for a beloved horror series. Now I'll explain the story of Ruin. If you don't want to hear it because you're watching this after you've seen Ruin, which you probably are, skip to this point in the video and you'll see the end. Ruin begins with Cassie, an 11-year-old girl and apparently a friend of Gregory's. She got a distress call from him stating that he was in the center of the Pizzaplex inside the sinkhole, and she needed to save him. Not firefighters, not child protective services, no professionals, just Cassie. A child, like he is. So Cassie enters the decrepit Pizzaplex. It's trash, it's been tagged by graffiti, and it's in despair. Cassie gets a Vanny mask and a Faz wrench, an item that we all know and love from the base game and totally not a shitty mechanic added on as if nothing happened. The mask has the Vanny interface on it, spelled V-A-N-N-I. We all know the Vanny interface, right? The ye old reliable. The mask uses AR to help her see things unseen, traverse areas she shouldn't be able to, and she shouldn't... Side note, it's definite that this is Vanny's mask, like Vanny herself that was lost in the Pizzaplex. So, Vanny also used this, meaning she also had the same AR powers, but it does not explain the stupid, physics-breaking properties. With these tools, she deactivates the security nodes that are trapping Gregory in the sinkhole. When she deactivates these, however, a holographic rabbit, simply called the Entity, is there to stop her. This rabbit looks like how the Juniors animatronics look in that fan game. Which, looking at it now, is definitely like they stole that idea. They 100% did. Before I go on with the endings, we need to know Cassie's backstory. So Cassie says that her dad works for the security company working for the Pizzaplex, as in the one that's keeping Gregory inside the sinkhole. and that's how she knows how to use the Faz wrench, and that's how she recognizes it. And she also had a birthday party at Roxy Raceway. She got all dolled up with Roxy, her favorite animatronic, who treated her with nothing but kindness. But when it came time for the party and cake, nobody showed up. I don't know the correlation. It's either Gregory was the only guest at the party, or that's how they met. Gregory comforting her as she cries. I promise that was important. Let's continue with the security nodes. Gregory informs Cassie that the one node that she needs to break last is Roxy. Cassie somberly deactivates Roxy and the entrance to the sinkhole opens. While navigating down, Cassie silently sobs to herself, sacrificing her first friend to save her second. When down there, the door Gregory is trapped behind is cemented shut. So Cassie gets into a forklift and rams it to break it, which works because that's definitely a strong enough vehicle to do so. When the door opens and Cassie runs in, Gregory is nowhere to be found, but his voice is still heard. The voice begins to glitch, and a skinny, mechanical figure reveals itself from the shadows. This thing is the Mimic, and has only appeared in the Tales from the Pizzaplex short stories, because everybody knows all FNaF fans read the books. I mean, I do, but I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm still on book 3 of, the main short story series, so don't come at me. The real Gregory comes on the walkie-talkie that Cassie had been using all night to communicate with the Mimic, and he informs her that the Mimic is not him, obviously. Cassie is unsure if she can trust this Gregory because doing so led her into her current predicament. He ensures she can trust him and tells her that his friend, who we never hear from, see the name of, or see them at all, has a map of under the Pizzaplex and he'll lead her to safety. This leads to the Mimic chase that sets up all 3 endings, and I will go through these one at a time. Dead ending. Cassie reaches a dead end with a Freddy cutout at the end. She puts on her Vanny mask looking for an out in the VR world, but it's nowhere to be seen. Instead, she sees Gregory, Vanessa, and Helpy all enjoying ice cream on the hill that we saw at the end of the base game. She begins to hyperventilate, knowing her end is here, and this is it. True ending. Cassidy makes it to the end and reaches the elevator back up to the Pizzaplex. She narrowly avoids being grabbed by the Mimic and ends up cutting off one of its arms in the elevator door. Gregory comes over the elevator intercom and celebrates Cassie's survival. He reveals that the Mimic had been trapped down there for a long time, and that she freed it. He says it isn't her fault, and she shouldn't feel guilty, but they can't have it following them. So he drops the elevator shaft, causing Cassie to fall to her death. The scoop ending. Cassie takes a hidden turn and finds a mysterious room with a large device in it. She manages to reach the control room before the Mimic finds her. While in there, she presses a button activating the device. Smoke fills the room as the arm boots up. A monster throws itself at the glass, where Cassie is safe behind. It's not the Mimic. It's a vaguely bear-shaped silhouette, and it has a half-melted face and a rotted cotton body. The arm extends and grabs the bear. It's a scooping machine. The smoke covers the gore, but when it clears, the mascot is lying unmoving on the ground. Let's get this out of the way. All those endings are absolutely terrible, unsatisfying, shittily written, and confusing. Especially the scoop ending. Where the fuck did that bear thing come from? Nobody knows. And all the characters in the DLC are not very threatening. The Mimic is a niche book character that likely only 3 people know. The entity isn't any danger. I didn't even explain how you stop the entity and get rid of it. That's how unimportant and forgetful it is. Monty, Chica, and Roxy were really only alerted if the entity found you, so if you played well enough, you wouldn't have a singular threat. Eclipse, the mix of sun and moon, is there too, but it's not a threat, it's just there for fan service. And the Endos, they're back. They're the biggest threat you have, but you can use the exact same tactic from Security Breach that's been perfected like tenfold now. All in all, the DLC is shitty, disappointing, and shouldn't even count as a FNaF game, let alone a hyped up DLC for another shitty game. I might make a video after this where I rewrite Help Wanted, Security Breach, and Ruin with my own story ideas, and on that topic, I'm not saying that I could do a better job than Steel Wool's writing team, but I am saying that. I am saying that exact sentence. I know I only listed bad things, but there are things about Ruin that I like. I love the withered glam rocks designs. I think they're beautiful. We get to see Freddy. I forgot to mention that. He's headless and he's aggressive, which is really cool to see because he was an ally in the base game. Roxy, I think, is very cool. I don't think it matches her like broken design in the base game, but it is very cool to see. And I love Roxy and Cassie's relationship. I do think that's adorable. It's nice to see Roxy care about something other than herself. And Eclipse was a cool design. Once again, I do think they're fan service, but whatever. People like him, so I guess I do too. The AR mask mechanic is cool, but it doesn't really fit with like physics and stuff like that. You can't really walk through a wall because you put a cool little mask on. And I know saying that in the FNaF universe doesn't make any sense because there's ghosts haunting animatronics, but I'm a stickler for stuff like that. So, but yeah, there is genuinely things that I like about the DLC. It's just that most of it is bad, and I hate almost all of it. So, there's a couple things that I like.